Hello and welcome back to Feminine Initiate Podcast. I'm your host, Jess West. I hope you're having an incredible day so far. It has been 4 weeks since my last full-length podcast episode. And honestly, it feels like so much longer. It feels like so much time has passed and I have so much to share with you. I gotta pace myself. What an incredible month. I hope that 2026 has kicked off beautifully for you. And that at this point in time, being a month into the new year, that you are still feeling so excited and that you're feeling more clear and you have gained this sustainable momentum on your way to your desires. If you have joined me in the EFT Tapping Transformational Challenge that I shared this past month on the podcast, it was a quick 3-minute EFT, 3 minutes or less EFT practice to help us truly solidify our identity and become the version of ourselves that achieves our goals. I'm not going to share overview too much about it. I hope that you join me, and I trust that if you did, you experienced some incredible shifts, because I most certainly have. 2 of the biggest shifts that I noticed within myself is having the clarity, having tapped on the goal that I want, which is something new for me, to be honest, because I've been tapping for years now. But what I have been focusing on is specifically releasing an emotional state. So if throughout the day I start to feel anything negative, if I start to feel stress, anxiety, worry, doubt, fear, I will use tapping to tap through it and regulate my nervous system. But this time, this challenge was all about being more proactive and tapping on becoming this new identity. I have done a few tappings like that previously, but nothing like I've dedicated to doing in this past 30 days. And the shifts were incredible. And so, like I said, there was so much more clarity on what my goal is and how I want to be in the achievement of it, in the pursuit of it, what I need to do. And what really allowed me to get that clarity was truly embodying the identity. I've mentioned it on the podcast before, and I'm sure, you've heard this before too in the personal development space, is that when it comes to manifestation, we don't need to know the how. Everything really is within us. And it really comes from becoming that version of ourselves, because we don't need to know the how. And when we truly do identify ourselves with that next version of ourselves, we'll just know it. We'll just know what to do next. And so, oh my gosh, so many things have become more clear to me. And I have been called to move into action that I didn't expect. And this brings me to the point of what I want to share with, or what I want to tell you on the podcast today. And it is one of those shifts that I've recognized, and one of the steps that I've recognized for me is taking a pause on this podcast for kind of indefinitely. I know that I will be resuming it at some point, but I don't know exactly when that point is. But I know right now it is time for me to take a pause on it and turn my focus onto other things. I started to have this insight, or I got the idea of pausing the podcast when I was 2 weeks in to the EFT tapping. And honestly, when I had that thought, when that thought plopped into my mind, I shed a few tears, because I was actually surprised. I was taken off guard at the thought that, wow, do I actually want to pause the podcast? Because for so long, that was something that I prided myself on. The fact that I started this podcast January 4th, 2023, and I stayed consistent. I never missed a week for 3 years. And I actually, on many occasions, I started posting or sharing 2 episodes a week. I was so proud of myself being able to commit to this, and the podcast has served me in so many ways. It's opened up my world, and I met incredible people. And then, of course, I started teaching others to start a podcast as well. It's just been such a beautiful experience. And so when I got the thought that, it's time to pause the podcast. And it actually felt good. It actually felt freeing. And that's how I know that it is the next step for me. But just because it felt freeing within me and it felt like, oh, yes, this is the next step for me, it doesn't mean that there wasn't sadness on top of it. So I guess this is the real point. I mean, the one point is to say that this will be the final episode of Feminine Initiate for the foreseeable future. And that when we feel those inclinations, that change is difficult because, and I don't like that word, but it's not easy because it's not comfortable. And one of the things that I have really been affirming to myself lately, and it's like one of my mantras, I can do the uncomfortable. I've done the uncomfortable before. I can do it again. And I've been using my past as a way, the uncomfortable things that I have done, every time I got out of my comfort zone and it has served me, I'm using that to fuel into this next chapter of mine. I'm being called to work more intentionally within my business and pursue more personal interests. And I'm really looking forward to it. Having said that, I'll be showing up more on YouTube. So if you're not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, come and join me there because I will be sharing weekly videos. And I love YouTube for the ability to be able to share just more and more hands-on practice. So I intend to share more actual NLP techniques with you, more transformational tools with you, as well as more audios with you. I currently have subliminals on there and I'm loving it so much. I love creating them. I love listening to them. Like that's all I'm doing lately. And so I will be putting more of that on YouTube. And so I just feel like I have a greater diversity of what I can share with you. And it's allowing me just to be more creative and I'm really enjoying it. And so for this episode, this is the final episode, and I wanted to leave you with something. I didn't just want to, share that, hey, I'm back, but I'm actually not back, I'm leaving. And so I want to share 4 tips with you on how you can be the feminine initiate in your life. Now, I chose the name of the podcast very intentionally, and that's not going to change. And it's just going to stay here. And because I do see a future where I'm going to start the podcast again and where I'm really going to focus more on this idea of being the feminine initiate. If we break it down, feminine is being in our feminine energy, being very attuned with ourselves emotionally, having a heightened intuition, being more compassionate for others. It's honestly, I feel like it's just the new wave of humans. It's just like what we are moving into. And initiate, I see it as to initiate something. When we have that idea, we are going to initiate it into our lives. It could be a synonym for creating. And we are affirming to ourselves as a feminine initiate that we're creating what it is that we want in the feminine way, not through force, not through hustle, because those are the old ways of doing things, that we are actually honoring our visions. We're honoring our purpose. We're honoring what it is that we want to create in a feminine way. We are letting it flow rather than forcing it to happen. And so these are 4 tips that I have experienced myself in my life as I took the feminine approach to initiating what I desired in my life. And so tip number 1 is to really allow yourself to get emotionally involved with your goal or your desire. Allow yourself to become that version of you, become the identity of yourself that you will be once you have achieved your goal, and feel into it. What would that feel like having your goal achieved? How freeing would it feel? How good would you feel? How much ease would you feel? How much happiness, joy, all of it. Allow yourself to feel that feeling right now in this now moment. Become that version of yourself and allow yourself to be in this energy state as often as you can. Because the more that you do this, the more that it will become a habit for you. You are creating new neural pathways in your brain for this new state of being. Because what we are experiencing today is just the equivalent of all our past conditioning, everything that has happened in the past. And all of our beliefs, our brain is literally programmed to seek those in our environment. Like our brain is literally deleting things that are happening in our world that aren't congruent with our beliefs. It's distorting the things that are happening in our world to make them congruent with our beliefs. And our brain is generalizing things that are congruent with our beliefs. For example, have you ever heard someone say that, oh, all salespeople are sleazy? They may have had one bad experience with a sales rep who was just, trying to make a sale and make money off of them versus giving them actual value. And so now it's just a blanket statement. Every salesperson in the world is just out for themselves. They don't care about the customer, right? Or maybe someone had a bad breakup and now all of a sudden there's just no good men out there. All men are just in it for themselves and they're insensitive. A blanket statement. We are generalizing our experience. We're overlooking so many things because we choose to believe in one thing. And so we are deleting, distorting, generalizing our world based on the beliefs that we're holding in our past programming. And so if we want to create any new results, we want to create new neural pathways, create a new reality for ourselves. And we do that through repetition. And so the more often that you can get emotionally involved with your end goal, and the more that you can feel yourself into that version of you, the more that you're creating it as a reality for yourself, and the more that you will be moved into taking action. One of my favorite techniques for this is anchoring in NLP, because essentially what we're doing is we're taking one of our knuckles, this is primarily what we use in NLP, and we're literally tapping in a state of being that we can tap into on demand. And so throughout the day, about 3 to 4 times a day I'm doing this, I am allowing myself to return to the present moment. So I'm taking a few deep breaths in, and then I'm tapping onto my anchor to get into this feeling state. And I am affirming my goal. And this is becoming my dominant way of being. And I'm going to be sharing more about NLP on my YouTube channel. And that's why I'm so excited to be able to share some of these hands-on, actual visual techniques that we can work through together that will propel you towards the life that you truly desire. And so becoming the version of yourself, so important. Truly feel your way into the life that you would love. Tip number 2 is to allow yourself to just be, because as you are continuously allowing yourself to get into that feeling state and really solidifying your identity, well, now you can just be that version of you. Again, you don't have to force, you don't have to put a bunch of to-dos for things to do and get into that hustle energy, because all of that hustle energy, it's just affirming that you are not yet that identity, that version of yourself. And so it's counterintuitive. If you are going to be continuously affirming your desired state of energy, affirming your identity, and then you're being forceful of it, well, then you're not actually that person, are you? Because if you're that person, you just naturally do those things. It doesn't feel like force because it just feels like something that you're doing. And so really pay attention to how you're feeling and just allow yourself to be. We hear often in manifestation or goal achievement, act as if, right? And I've been looking at that differently now, because our outside world doesn't determine how we feel. We determine how we feel internally, and then in turn, we get moved into action, right? Our actions are based on our feeling. And so when we're acting as if, then we're trying to reverse that. We're trying to behave in a certain way that is almost forceful to instill that feeling. We're hoping that the outside world and the actions that we're taking is going to instill that feeling of confidence in our achievement, right? Whereas instead, you can come from the identity, allow yourself to get into the state of being confident that you currently are living your desires. You have those feelings within, and then allow yourself to be moved into taking action. And so you're not acting, you're being. It's who you are. And so know that it's the energy. It's not the action. Get into the energy state and then just allow yourself to be from there. And then tip number 3 is when you're in that energy state, allow yourself to follow those inclinations. This is literally like allow yourself to initiate those things. This is the thing. You've done the feminine. You're feeling the feminine energy. You're becoming this identity. And now it's time to take action when you feel called to taking action. And there is a difference. When you really allow yourself to get in tune with your emotions, like you'll know when it is time to move forward. For example, with this podcast, pausing the podcast, I had the idea come in on week 2 and I sat with it. I sat with it for a few weeks, really contemplating it and being like, how does this really feel? If I pause the podcast, how does it feel? If I continue the podcast, how does this feel? I also did some muscle testing with this. If you do muscle testing too, or if you use a pendulum, you can get your answers that way as well. And so you don't have to take action on it right away, but you can sit with it and entertain it, and then ultimately take the action that feels best. Like there is still a point. And when you really connect with yourself, you'll know when that point is. You will know when it is time to take that action, and then take that action. And the 4th tip that I have for you, a lot of the times in terms of feminine and masculine energy, we see the masculine energy is the doing energy, the one that takes action, that actually makes things happen and does things, right? And we can look at the feminine energy as more of that feminine flow. It's just always pleasant and maybe a little more passive. Maybe you have thought about the feminine this way or not, but there is a general kind of consensus that like, oh, the feminine energy is softer. And yes, sure, there is a soft side to it, but there is also a very fierce, protective, powerful, energetic side to our feminine. Our feminine is deeply intuitive and is that magnetic energy. Our feminine energy is what calls things in, is what is open and ready to receive. It is our point of attraction. And so my tip number 4 is to channel it. Channel this fierce, powerful energy and allow yourself to get very protective and clear and decisive on your goal, on what it is that you want to create for yourself. That is your vision. Stay true to it. Allow yourself to stand strong in it and nurture it. Nurture that vision of yours as you would a child. Give it the time. Tend to those seeds. Don't allow worry or fear or doubt to come in and uproot everything that you've been working on. Keep your eyes sharp on what it is that you want and continue moving forward. And so let out that protective energy and protect your dreams, protect your goals. Don't let any outside force tell you that you can't do it, because you are the decider of your destiny. You are the creator of your reality. You're literally creating it. It's all you. And so take that power. And so those are my 4 tips to being the feminine initiate in your life. I know you already have something on your heart. Give yourself permission to go all in on it, all in for yourself, and all of the incredible benefits that I have no doubt that your desires will bring to the rest of the world. This is part of the feminine energy too, right? We don't do anything just for ourselves. We're doing it really for the collective, for the greatest benefit of all. And I am so excited for you. And so as this is the last episode, I hope these tips serve you moving forward. Come hang out with me on YouTube, and I wish you the most incredible success in 2026. And until next time, be empowered.